record this. Can you see that now?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
cool.
Is that Zell? No, Alyssa.
Yeah, Zoe's gone. She's not, I don't think, she said she might not be able to come.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I can see it. No problem.
Oh, hi, Alyssa. Hare
Hi.
Krishna.
Hi, Hare Krishna.
Okay, this is a subsection. We're almost to the end. We're about like maybe one fifth or sixth through we got one sixth left to go in this particular chapter. I'll
Nectar,
just read the first two
nectar of
paragraphs and then
devotion. Yes.
Alyssa, you can read the second two paragraphs and we'll just go like that.
Okay.
The rareness of pure devotional service. In the preliminary phase of spiritual life, there are different types of austerities, penances, and similar processes for attaining self-realization. However, if an executor of these processes is without any material desire, he still cannot achieve devotional service. And aspiring by oneself alone to achieve devotional service is also not a very hopeful, because Krishna does not agree to award devotional service to merely anyone. Krishna can easily offer a person material happiness or even liberation, but he does not agree very easily to award a person engagement in his devotional service. Devotional service can in fact be attained only through the mercy of a pure devotee. In Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 19:151, it is said, quote, by the mercy of the spiritual master who is a pure devotee and by the mercy of Krishna, one can achieve the platform of devotional service. There's no other way, end quote. The rarity of devotional service is also confirmed in the Tantra Shastra, where Lord Shiva says to Sati, quote, my dear Sati, if one is a very fine philosopher analyzing the different processes of devotional of knowledge, he can achieve liberation from the material entanglement. By performance of the ritualistic sacrifices recommended in the Vedas, one can be elevated to the platform of pious activities and thereby enjoy the material comforts of life to the fullest extent. But all such endeavors can hardly offer anyone devotional service to the Lord, not even if one tries for it by such processes for many, many thousands of births. Oops, Hemang just left. There he is again. Hemang, you there though? Hemang? Anyway, go ahead and read the next paragraph. Oh, there you are.
Okay. I didn't realize I'm muted and video not showing. Start.
Yeah, you somehow or other you got off. I don't know if it was an internet glitch, but
Phone died. I completely forgot. And then I realized, and I was like, oh, died. So
yeah,
we're
yeah, you gotta. I have one of these things here. I've got like one of those stands on my phone that is it's like a magnetic thing,
hmm,
and you can you just it's not magnetic. It just charges the phone automatically, and you don't have to plug it in, and it just stands on it, so you can get messages and see what the phone is doing.
is it like on an LED lamp or auto charge?
No, this is what it is. See that?
No, it's like a
Little
power
stand.
bank, maybe.
It's a little stand.
Okay,
You get
cool.
them, it's like a charger, wireless charger. All you have to do is look on Amazon, look up wireless charger for iPhone. Most of the phones it works on.
Okay.
Okay, so
So where
Alyssa,
were
you want
we?
to, pardon?
Where were we, Prabhuji?
Okay, you want to read?
Yeah, where are we?
We're in Srimad Bhagavatam, this here, right here.
Ah, okay. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is also confirmed by Prahlad Maharaj that merely by personal efforts or by the instructions of higher authorities, one cannot attain to the stage of devotional service. One must become blessed by the dust of the lotus feet of a pure devotee who is completely freed from the contamination of material desires. Would you like me to continue?
Yeah.
Or okay. In the fifth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th chapter, verse 8, Narad also says to Yudhishthira, "My dear king, it is Lord Krishna, known as Mukunda." Reminds me, Mukunda Lila Prabhuji, who is the eternal protector of the Pandavas and the Yadus. He is also your spiritual master and instructor in every respect. He is the only worshipful God for you. He is very dear and affectionate, and he is the director of all your activities, both individual and familial. And what's more, he sometimes carries out your orders as if he were your messenger. My dear king, how very fortunate you are, because for others, all these favors given to you by the Supreme Lord would not even be dreamt of. The purport to this verse is that the Lord easily offers liberation, but he rarely agrees to offer a soul devotional service, because by devotional service, the Lord himself becomes purchased by the devotee.
I read this verse one time when I was just a new
confused.
devotee. I was practically, just weeks into it. I'd received Prabhupada's books in the mail, and I read this one verse by Prahlad Maharaj. It says, if you want to be a devotee, if you want to be blessed by Krishna, you have to be blessed by the dust of the lotus feet of a pure devotee. And when I read that verse, it seemed like I had a physical um, feeling about that. My whole body, from my head to my toe, was like I got tingles, when I got that. And so I actually was so impressed by that because I knew it was kind of like an extraordinary thing. I went and told my mother, and she doesn't really understand, but I just remember that because I had that physical feeling of just reading that verse. It's very important, and it's very, very crucial to understand that if you get the blessings of a pure devotee, that's the only way to actually understand Krishna. I was just talking to this one devotee who said that he doesn't really even associate with ISKCON anymore because after Prabhupada left, he doesn't associate with he doesn't feel like it's a good institution anymore. And I said, well, I mean, you still follow Prabhupada, right? I mean, he's Prabhupada's disciple. He's an older gentleman that's actually dying. He's on he's got COPD and he can't hardly breathe anymore. He used to be a bass player in the 70s, but now he's like on his way out. But and I told him, no, Krishna will never leave you alone as long as you're connected with Prabhupada. Uh, it doesn't matter. So, Alyssa, you want to read the next two paragraphs? This whole section here, the happiness of becoming one with the Supreme.
Sure. The happiness of becoming one with the Supreme. Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī says that if Brahmananda, or the happiness of becoming one with the Supreme, is multiplied 1 trillion-fold, it still cannot compare to an atomic fraction of the happiness derived from the ocean of devotional service. In the Hari Bhakti Sudodaya, Prahlad Maharaj, while satisfying Lord Nrsimha Deva by his prayers, says, My dear Lord of the universe, I am feeling transcendental pleasure in your presence and have become merged in the ocean of happiness. I now consider the happiness of Brahmananda to be no more than the water and the impression left by a cow's hoof in the earth compared to this ocean of bliss. Similarly, it is confirmed in the Bhavarta Deepika, Sridhara Swami's commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam. My dear Lord, some of the fortunate persons who are swimming in the ocean of your nectar of devotion and who are relishing the nectar of the narration of your pastimes certainly know ecstasies that immediately minimize the value of the happiness derived from religiousness, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. Such a transcendental devotee regards any kind of happiness other than devotional service as no better than the straw in the street.
Attracting Krishna. Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī has stated that devotional service attracts even Krishna. Krishna attracts everyone, but devotional service attracts Krishna. The symbol of devotional service in the highest degree is Radharani. Krishna is called Madana Mohan, which means he is so attractive that he can defeat the attraction of thousands of cupids. But Radharani is still more attractive, for she can even attract Krishna. Therefore, devotees call her Madana Mohana Mohini, the attractor of Cupid. To perform devotional service means to follow in the footsteps of Radharani, and devotees in Vrindavan put themselves under the care of Radharani in order to achieve perfection in their devotional service. In other words, devotional activity is not an activity of the material world. It is directly under the control of Radharani. In Bhagavad Gita, it is confirmed that the Mahatmas, or great souls, are under the protection of Daivi Prakriti, the internal energy, Radharani. So, being directly under the control of the internal potency of Krishna, devotional service attracts even Krishna himself. So Krishna can't be conquered, but you can conquer him by being a devotee. And that's what Prabhupada's father used to ask all the sadhus that would come to his house. He said, please, my dear sadhu, please bless my son that that Radharani will be pleased with him. Because he knew that Radharani, if you get the blessings of Radharani, then Krishna has to accept you. Because she is even more powerful than Krishna. Go ahead, Alyssa, or Hemang.
Yep. Let's see. How Krishna, right? That part?
No, this fact,
Oh,
this
okay.
fact is corroborated.
This fact is corroborated by Krishna in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 14th chapter, verse 20, where he says, My dear Uddhava, you may know it from me that the attraction I feel for devotional service rendered by my devotees is not to be attained even by the performance of mystic yoga, philosophical speculation, ritualistic sacrifice, the study of Vedanta, the practice of severe austerities, or the giving of everything in charity. These are, of course, very nice activities, but they're not as attractive to me as the transcendental loving service rendered by my devotees.
Go ahead.
Trying to comprehend this thing.
Yeah.
What this is complex.
All of these methods are gradually positive that take you towards the lotus feet of Krishna, but Krishna has to agree to accept you. If he reveals himself, see, it's not up to us. We can't do anything that will we can't order Krishna around, He's not our order supplier. So Krishna, if he chooses, he can reveal himself to you, but he'd do that by pleasing him. If you can please Krishna, that's the goal of life. So if you get Krishna's mercy, then your life is successful. And so, in order to get transcendental loving service, in order to get Krishna's mercy, uh, you need to engage in devotional service that's pleasing to Krishna. There's no other way, and that happens through the mercy of the spiritual master. The spiritual master is connected to Krishna, and so therefore, when you get his mercy, he can ask Krishna to accept this person and guide that person towards, uh, and engage them in a favorable way for Krishna's pleasure. So that's the way it works. Go ahead and read the second paragraph.
I have a question
Go ahead.
about the spiritual master aspect of it.
Yeah.
So, the only thing that I know from talking to other people in ISKCON is that like basically the the person that you choose as a guru, like you can approach them and ask them, but if they don't feel good about it, they can definitely turn you down. And then they also have requirements, like you have to read certain kinds of books and texts that they want you to read. But like I'm just wondering, is there like a fee structure attached to asking for these mentors, these guru mentors that can initiate you, or are they
No.
like
Like for
thing?
example, have you ever met Varshana Swami?
I don't think so.
He's the one that's building that temple across the street from the palace. It's the Radha Gopinath temple. It's almost finished. It's going to be completed. That was Prabhupada's desire to build 7 temples on 7 hills, and he's been working in New Vrindavan for over 50 years. And he's older, he's in his later 70s now, but he's a spiritual master, and he's got his personal one of his disciples is actually in charge of introducing. There's no fee. There is a test. I mean, just like if you're going to um, choose a wife or a teacher or a doctor, you should test the doctor or the teacher or the wife and see if it's a compatible for your relationship. And so similarly, the spiritual master tests the disciple to see if they're qualified. And so if they're both qualified and it just says that the way to approach a spiritual master is um, tadvidi panipatena pariprashnena. Pariprashnena and paripatena. It means submissive and humble service and inquiry.
Mhm.
And that way is just like everybody's asking questions all the time. The birds and the bees are asking questions, and the children are asking questions of their teachers and their parents. So similarly, we should test the spiritual master. And if you ask him questions, he satisfies your with answers. And if the spiritual master is satisfied by your service and he sees that you have potential to become a devotee, his job is to actually be a guru on behalf of Krishna, which is just he wants the guru is a transparent via medium. You know what a medium is. It's like, when you talk about like somebody that has ESP, they're mediums, but the spiritual master is a transparent spiritual via medium. The more
Yeah, to go through something to get somewhere.
if you see Krishna clearly in the spiritual master's instructions, the person, you can test various spiritual masters. You can go to the, pick and choose. If this one impresses you, if you're attracted to by the clarity of his presentation, it's not a matter of a personality. It's a matter of who can clearly represent Krishna through their instructions. And so you ask them a question, and they answer exactly according to Krishna's words in the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam. and they know the conclusions of the scriptures. They know how to apply them, and they're living acharyas. Acharya means uh, one who teaches by example. They're already performing devotional service, and they can teach you by their own activities how to surrender and serve Krishna. So the person that can do that the best, they can be accepted as your guru. And if the guru accepts you, then you're so fortunate that you will be connected to Krishna. Once you get initiated, then that is called the Diksha initiation process, by which you are connected to Krishna from that point. Because spiritual mastery is very important. There's no fee, there's no cost, there's everything in Krishna consciousness is free. I remember there's this one New Age guy that in my hometown in the 70s, he came through, and he had this, like, New Age thing, where he put a razor blade in a pyramid, and it would sharpen the razor blade, and then they called it the Seagull Institute or something like that. And he would have meetings in the Holiday Inn, and he got a whole bunch of people to go, and then they would give him money to uh, be a part of his program, and or his follower. And I said, why should I do that? I can do the Krishna consciousness thing for free. Why would I pay this guy money? And of course, he took all the money of everybody, not me, because I was too smart. I didn't give him any money, and so he took all the money, and just took off. He left them all without any money. And so that's just like, you have to be careful. So, but a real spiritual master is coming from a long disciplinary succession. If you find some so-called guru that doesn't have another guru behind him, he's bogus. He's a rascal. And he's probably just going to take your money and run, because that happens all the time.
Yeah, you don't want to get scammed,
Yeah,
basically.
it's just a scam. There's a lot of cheaters. Of course, people want to be cheated. That's why there's so many cheaters, to take your money. You know, it's a society of cheaters and the cheated. People want to be cheated, and the people who cheat. And so they just go together.
Hmm.
That's all pervasive. It's always been like that, and it always will be like that. So you have to be careful. You have to be testing, just like you can test gold on a striking stone and see if it's real gold. And if you don't have any knowledge about what is gold, then people will give you fool's gold, and then you'll take that as gold. It's not really gold. So you have to know what you're talking about. You have to test, and you have to have knowledge, and you have to apply it to the character and behavior of a guru. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank
So,
you.
Hemang, you want to write? Did you finish that paragraph?
He read already.
Oh, okay. So it's your turn. This is the last paragraph. Congratulations, you get the last one.
Ah, very
I
nice.
think, wait. I think you need to scroll up a little bit.
It's in Bhagavad Gita.
Is that the is
That
that where
is the
we ended? Nobody in this world is more fortunate than you?
No, no. That you read that already, right, Hemang?
Um, I don't remember.
If
Yeah.
you
No, I
scroll
mean
up,
you.
I'll just go through it. I'll just go. Okay, the 11th canto. Okay. So I can finish this off for you if that's what you want. Whoop.
I mean, if you already read the previous paragraph, did you read? You talked about Yudhishthir and Prahlad Maharaj. Oh, wait, maybe we didn't read that part.
Yeah, I
Okay.
don't think you
Yeah.
read.
Okay. So you can read the last two paragraphs.
Okay. How Krishna becomes attracted by the devotional service of his devotees is described by Narada in Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, 10th chapter, verses 48 and 49. There, Narada addresses King Yudish, help me here,
You
Yudhishthir.
just hear.
Yudhisthira, while the king is appreciating the glories of the character of Prahlad Maharaj. A devotee always appreciates the activities of other devotees. Yudhishthir Maharaj was appreciating the qualities of Prahlada, and that is one symptom of a pure devotee. A pure devotee never thinks himself great. He always thinks that other devotees are greater than himself. The king was thinking, Prahlad Maharaj is actually a devotee of the Lord while I am nothing. And while thinking this, he was addressed by Narada as follows. My dear King Yudhishthir, you, the Pandava brothers, are the only fortunate people in this world. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has appeared on this planet and is presenting himself to you as an ordinary human being. He is always with you in all circumstances. He is living with you and covering himself from the eyes of others. Others cannot understand that he is the Supreme Lord, but he is still living with you as your cousin, as your friend, and even as your messenger. Therefore, you must know that nobody in this world is more fortunate than you. In Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna appeared in his universal form, Arjuna prayed, My dear Krishna, I thought of you as my cousin brother, and so I have shown disrespect to you in so many ways, calling you Krishna or friend, but you are so great that I could not understand. So that was the position of the Pandavas. Although Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, the greatest among all greats, he remained with those royal brothers, being attracted by their devotion, by their friendship, and by their love. That is the proof of how great this process of devotional service is. It can attract even the Supreme Personality of Godhead. God is great, but devotional service is greater than God because it attracts him. People who are not in devotional service can never understand what great value there is in rendering service to the Lord.
Yeah, that's why Narada Muni, I mean, King Yudhishthira, he didn't have any enemies at all. He was the king of the earth, the entire earth planet. But he didn't have any enemies. He was so humble that he didn't even think of himself as great. And even though he owned everything and was the king, that he owned the entire kingdom, he didn't really understand. I mean, he see the characteristic of devotee, he's always thinking that everybody else is better than me. And he thought Prahlad Maharaj was the greatest devotee, while I am nothing. And that's the way you're supposed to think. You're supposed to think of yourself as lower than a straw on the street. I
Oh
don't
yeah, that's
even,
what I was gonna ask. I had that written down. The something comparison to the straw.
yeah, it's my spiritual master wrote a book called Humbler Than a Blade of Grass. And
Mhm.
that's the verse that in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that that Lord Chaitanya spoke, and the author of that book, he was very, very old when he wrote that book. He was like in his 90s, late 90s, but he wrote it and all in rhyming couplets. And I don't understand how he did that because he could hardly even see or walk or do anything. But he wrote the
Wow.
whole book, and he said the most important verse in that book, the most important verse in Lord Chaitanya's 8 prayers, the Shikshastakam prayers, what I'm named after, is the third one. The third one is Trinada Pisihishana Torora Pisihishana Amanina Mandidena Kirtaniyasada Hari, which means one should think of oneself as humbler than a blade of grass. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and ready to offer all respects to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. And Krishnadas Kaviraj, the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita, he said that one should wear that verse around your neck. In other words, you should always remember that verse. And I actually did literally wear it around my neck. I had a medallion with that printed on the front, the Trinadapi Sanskrit, and then the back was a picture of was a bas relief medallion of Lord Chaitanya Nityananda. But the chain broke and I lost it, and I can't find another one because they're just they don't exist anymore. You can't buy them from Amazon or anything. Those are like unique little trinkets. But I try to wear it around my neck just as a principle because it's very, very, very important. The whole idea of humility, you know. So because that is enables you to actually understand that Krishna is everything and we are nothing. And the other thing that these last two paragraphs reminded me of, King Yudhishthira also, he always thought of himself as the least, and he they asked, I think, I don't know how they were asking these two personalities, but they asked King Yudhisthira to go find somebody that's lower than you, and they asked King Duryodhan, who was the king of the Pandava or the Kuru dynasty. They were the ones that were fighting with the Pandava brother for the kingdom, and he's actually instigated that war, and Krishna kind of arranged it so that all of them would be killed, and King Yudhisthira would be installed on the throne. And so somebody asked him, King Duryodhan, find somebody that's greater than you. And so King Duryodhan, he went around the kingdom and he was like asking everybody, he was looking at everybody and seeing, and he couldn't find anybody that was greater than him. And so then King Yudhisthira was looking around and trying to find somebody that was lower than him. And he couldn't find anybody either until finally he saw this Brahmana who was taking water from a well. And it was a Ekadasi, and you're not supposed to even drink water on a Ekadasi if you're a strict follower, if you're a Brahmana. And so he said, okay, well, maybe this guy is lower than I am, you know. But then he found out that he gave the water to his cow. And so he said, oh, he gave up at that point. He said, okay, I'm the lowest. Nobody else is lower than me. And so that's the difference between these two personalities, King Yudhisthira and King Duryodhan, that one of them doesn't think that there's anybody that's greater than him, and one of them doesn't think there's anybody lower than him. Thus,
Duryodhan was very materialistic.
yeah, he wanted that kingdom, and he was envious of the Pandavas because he ever since they you know an envious person, there's no reason for the envy because they can have all the things, but they envy them the Supreme Lord, and they envy anybody who has the Lord's attributes and any kind of material wealth. He says, "How come this guy has everything? Why can't I get all that stuff?" You know, and so they are envious for no reason, and it's a disease. It's actually a very lust, anger, greed, envy. These things are very unfavorable for one's devotional service. You can't actually understand. You know, Krishna told Arjuna, because you're not envious of me, I'll explain to you this knowledge. If you're envious of the Supreme Lord, you're envious of your own self, and you'll never understand even who you are because you can't even understand. You can't understand Krishna because you can't even understand yourself because Krishna is the self of ourself. So if you're envious of yourself, that's like an incompatible situation to our real life, you know. And it's a very, you know, it's a very, it's like a disease. Envy is like a disease. Lust, anger, greed, envy.
I guess hatred. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Alyssa, you were gonna say something?
Oh, no, I was just saying I agree.
Okay, before I jumped in on it.
Well, I think we're at the end of this. You have any more questions or comments or anybody?
Let's
Yeah,
see.
I kind of had a comment slash
Yeah.
question. I know that you were talking about back in the day when you first started reading, and I forget what was the text that you were reading that made you have like some kind of visceral like
Oh, you mean
crazy.
of the Prahlad Maharaj? When
Okay.
Prahlad's he said in the seventh canto, he said, if you want Krishna's mercy, you have to put the dust of the lotus feet of a pure devotee on your head.
Okay. So I had a very similar experience reading the Nrsimha Purana, and it wasn't that particular part of it. It's just when I read the Nrsimha Purana, it's like in its own separate book that another devotee gave me.
Mhm.
Like I just had such electrical, esoteric. I mean, it was like really like head to toe. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, that was really the first time I
You
think
felt any kind of transcendental
that anything
feeling
really,
or ecstasy,
yeah,
right?
something really transcendental on a very profound level happened. And so, I mean, that's why, Prahlad, like that whole thing that, like it's just incredible. Some of the knowledge that Prahlad was dropping is just
I
like
know he's only 5 years old, but he's smarter than everybody.
I know, and I wish that I could, I wish that I would have like maybe like made little sticky notes or something because I can't. It's been a couple months since I read that text,
Have
but
you do you have that book with you now?
I do have it. It
You
would
have to
take
give it
me.
back to whoever it was from.
She doesn't really care. She was like, I don't really care about this one so
Can I
much.
borrow it from you? Because I want to read that book.
Narasimha Purana.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you
I'm a
can
big fan of Lord Nisringadev, by the way.
yeah, if you give it back.
I'll give it back.
It's
You
pretty,
know
it's
where
pretty
I live.
wild.
You actually don't know where I live,
I
but
don't know
I
where you
know
live.
where you live, and you can trust me because
Yeah.
I don't want to steal from devotees. You know
No,
what happens
no, 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 no. It's
steal
not
from devotees?
stealing. No,
You get
I'd
it.
be happy to lend it to you. It's just not mine, so I would have
Right,
to.
yeah, for sure. But
But
I
anyway,
had two other
it's
experiences like you're explaining. I had, like when I read that verse, I had that tingling from foot head to toe. But then another time when before I even got Prabhupada's books, they were in all of the libraries, the university libraries in the country,
yeah,
because his book distribution buses would come around and their library party. They would solicit the educational institutions. All of the universities in the country have these books now because they're very scholarly, and they would bring with them all the quotes from the different scholars and illuminati, like the intelligentsia, and they would be impressed, and they say, "Okay, we'll take them," because if you go to any library, you'll see a whole section of the university library. It's got like a whole row of books, and that's just the Vedas. But
right.
most of them are just bogus. There's one guy that wrote a commentary on the Gita and Bhagavatam and other Vedas. His name is Max Mueller. He's like a 19th century guy, but he
Yeah,
was the
I know
person
his name.
who blasted all of his whole idea for writing these books is to tear it apart and establish Christianity in its place.
Yeah.
So you don't want to read that garbage.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's what Devamrita Swami was talking about and
Well,
searching
how did you know Dave Marita Swami?
because I have searching for Vedic India.
Oh, right. I gave you that book too.
You gave me his other book, which I haven't started because my life was turned upside down for the
I know
last
your life
like,
is
eight
like
weeks.
complete shambles, just
Yeah,
like the
but
Republican Party now.
I'm gonna I'm gonna get back to it. See, when I started all of this, I didn't realize that devotees like to give people books.
Oh, well,
I
yeah,
thought that
that's our
maybe
favorite thing to do, actually. Books. One of my instructor, spiritual master, who I communicate with sometimes, he's one of the biggest book distributors in ISKCON. His name is Vaisheshika Prabhu, and he's married, but he's a big guru,
yeah,
and he is in charge of all the book distribution in the entire country, and worldwide book distribution. And so he wrote a book called Our Family Business, which is book distribution.
yeah.
And because Prabhupada, his spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta, told him, look, if you ever get money, print books. He called it a Brihat Mridanga. A little Mridanga can only be heard. Maybe if you're out in the street on Butler Street, you could hear it. But a Brihat Mridanga, big Mridanga, is the book. That can be heard all over the world because it can be distributed and put into everybody's home. And so that's a big mridanga.
So let me ask you this. How old is that Narasimha Purana? Because the Puranas are
Oh, well,
ancient.
the Nisringa Purana, Lord Nisringadev, let me tell you, Lord Nisringadev didn't even appear on this planet. He appeared hundreds of millions of years ago on another planet.
Oh.
And
Oh, I didn't
yeah,
realize that.
according to Prabhupada, I just read this in the Transcendental Diary. Prabhupada confirmed the fact that he never even appeared on this planet. There's some sites where they say he appeared in some mountain in India, but he didn't appear there. He appeared on another planet. The Bhagavatam doesn't happen just on Earth. It happens all over the universe. And so Lord Nrsingadev appeared in some kind of yoga on another kalpa hundreds of millions of years ago. And
Mhm.
I'll tell you another time that I got a little bit of a taste of transcendental ecstasy. There was a black body devotee named Bhakti-tirtha Swami. You ever heard of him?
Yeah, I just paid respects to his remains yesterday.
Oh, wow. Yeah, he passed away during the Festival Inspiration. He was passing away in Gita Nagari, and he was on his deathbed, and Radhanath Swami left New Vrindavan in the middle of the Festival Inspiration in like 2014 or something like that. And he drove to Gita Nagari to be with him for
Mhm.
his passing away. And Radhanath Swami told um, the story of how Bhakti-tirtha Swami passed away because Radhanath Swami went to Gita Nagari to be with him, and Bhakti-tirtha Swami was dying of cancer, and his body was so racked with pain that they'd have to put him in a bathtub, and he was so much in a painful position that he'd have to take like a cold bath or something. And Radhanath Swami was reading to him, reading Krishna literature, and he was so much in agony. But he, at one point, when Radhanath Swami was reading to him, he just looked up at him and he said, "You know, despite my situation, there is no place I would rather be than with you right now." That's the fortunate position of a devotee who doesn't even care what kind of position or what pleasure or pain. They're completely above that because they know that Krishna consciousness is the greatest thing. And so he actually didn't pass away right away. He hung on for about weeks, maybe because he wanted to hear Radhanath Swami's stories, because Radhanath Swami is definitely the best storyteller in ISKCON. Everybody could tell you that. He tells the best stories. But there's another guru, there's so many gurus in ISKCON that are totally bona fide and eligible to accept you as a disciple. So um, very important. So the other time, well, Dr. Tirtha Swami, this is the other time I felt some ecstasy. He was like from Africa, and he was always wore this beautiful silk dhoti and kurta, which was like shiny, it was silk. So it was like a shining silver or orange saffron color. And he used to wear these African uh, garb, like a hat, that they used to wear in Africa. I mean, he was very well dressed. He's actually a very educated man, and he was very influential, I think, but he when he was in college, but he was from Africa, and when he was in a kirtan, he would dance. And I got my first taste of ecstasy just seeing him dance. I didn't even take part in the dance. I was just watching him. And it was like ecstatic just to see him dance around. That's one of the lively things about Krishna consciousness. When I was in the old farmhouse, you ever been to the old farmhouse,
Mhm.
Alyssa?
Yes.
Up on the second floor, they used to have the Brahmachari ashram, and they had a little tulsi plant in the middle of the floor, and all the little brahmacharis were dressed, their shaved heads, and they're dressed in their kurta and devotee clothing. But all these little kids were dancing around this bush, and they were so lively that I had to go tell my father. I was like, I had to tell my mother about that, and then I had to tell my father about this is like not like the Methodist church I was brought up in. It's like where you go sleep in your pew. These people have life. Yeah, if you have life, you can preach, Prabhupada said. So, you know, it was very,
You
very
called, were
impressive.
you been up there on the second floor of that farmhouse?
Yeah, yeah. The Brahmacharya ashram was up there, and you know Kripa Maya Prabhu?
Yes.
He had a problem with snoring. He snored like a Johnson chainsaw at night, and I couldn't even sleep
Wait,
because
were you so you stayed long term up there in the
well,
Brahmacharya?
actually, I was I that's the first place I went is to that Brahmacharya ashram, and I remember one of the devotees would take me up to that long and winding road called Agasura Road.
Yeah.
It's like a snake. It goes all through the valley and then ends up at that house up there, that old 250-year-old log cabin.
Yeah, I
And,
don't.
you know, while we're walking up that road, in that muddy road, and the devotee said, you know, you're Scott, you know, my name was Scott. And so I said, you're on the beginning of a race right now. You're just then in your starting blocks and you're about to take a really long race and you're right at the beginning. So, you know, that was the beginning of my career. And I went up there and I had brought with me, I'll just tell you another quick pastime about my spiritual master and how I came to Krishna consciousness. I had brought all, you know, you're talking about books, you know, there's like essential books to read, and your spiritual master tells you to read certain things. That's not true either. Prabhupada recommends that you read his books, but you can read whatever, you know. And I had brought with me different books that I've been reading because I like to read ever since I was in high school, you know. So I brought, I think it was called Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance.
Yeah, I used to have that book. I never read it, but
Yeah,
yeah.
it's not that great. I mean, you know, it's like a new age type of like spiritual type book. It's about Buddhism or Zen Buddhism or something. And then I was interested in psychology, so I had this book by this 60s dude, a guy that practiced at Big Sur, California, you know, where they have those hot springs.
Mhm.
That's where the Big Sur Festival was in 1970. But his name was Fritz Perls, and he actually is the kind of invented a form of therapy called Gestalt therapy, but like a whole person. Gestalt means like, and he had a catchphrase that um, you are you and I am I, and if by chance we find each other, it's beautiful. If not, can't be helped. You know, it was just like Gestalt therapy, but he was an old guy and I liked his books because they're kind of like hippy dippy books, you know. But anyway, the devotees that were in that ashram there, they were like saying, you know, the guest was a very learned scholar who wrote Prabhupada's books after he passed away. His name is Hridayananda Maharaj, and he's another guru. He lives down in Florida, but he's like they kind of like were joking around, and some brahmacharis asked him. Some young brahmacharis said, "What if a new devotee comes here with all kinds of Mayavadi books? What should we do? Should we burn them?" And he said, "Yeah." You know, he was joking, but they actually took my journal and all my books and they burned them.
What?
And and my spiritual master, I was furious, you know, because everybody's laughing at me, you know. It's like you burn them, yeah, and then everybody started laughing, and so I wanted to go down and tell him off, you know. And one devotee kind of stopped me from going into the temple room and mouthing off to this advanced devotee who was just joking. I didn't know he was joking because I was an idiot. But and the devotees told me, look, he could see my intention, and said to me, I'm sorry, if you take one step inside this temple room, I'm going to have to punch you in the nose." And so I didn't do it, but eventually Hridayananda Maharaj, he invited me to his little log cabin right outside the farmhouse there. They had little tiny cabins, and he sat me down and preached to me, and I didn't remember anything of what he said because I was half crazy back then. The only thing I remembered was the Krishna consciousness is like the relationship between a young man and a young woman. There's attraction there, you know. And so that's the only thing I remember, but otherwise I didn't remember anything. But but Bhakti, my spiritual master, found out about that incident. And you know, he chastised the devotees for doing that. He said, "Who's in charge here? I'm in charge here." And he pulled me aside and he said, "Look, these other brahmacharis, these other little boys, they're not as smart as you." So he was like buttering me up and telling me how smart I was, because he knew I was such a neophyte. And then he said, don't listen to them, you're actually very intelligent, and he just like kind of assuaged the situation. But he was pissed, that everybody was going above his head and actually taking a joke literally. And they actually did burn all my book. I had like all kinds of quotes from Emerson and throughout my high school years. They burned my journal, and that's terrible.
Wait, why did they burn it again? I'm
Well,
trying.
as they said, they asked Sri Ananda, they thought that the Zen of the art of motorcycle maintenance, it was like Zen Buddhism. And so they asked him, what if a young brahmachari or a young devotee or a new guy comes in here with all kinds of Mayavadi books? Mayavadi is like the enemy of Krishna consciousness.
Like
Prabhupada
worldly. Yeah.
always like rail against the Mayavadis. And so he says, what should we do? Should we burn them? And he said, yeah. And he was just joking, but they actually took it literally and they took them and burned them.
And then the part about like if you were to enter the temple, they'd have to punch your.
Yeah, that was that
But
was a devotee.
Kripa wasn't one of the ones that did that to you, was he?
Who?
Kripa didn't do that to you, did
Kripa
he?
Maya, and of course not. He's like the gentlest devotee on the planet. No, I
So
mean,
those guys,
Kripa Maya was actually a black body devotee. There was another devotee named Kripa Maya, but it wasn't that Kripa Maya. It was a black body devotee, and then another named like Jal Kalahari. He was the other like upstart young guy who was like trying to fire everybody up, and they made they asked Sridananda that question, and they took it seriously, and they're the ones that took my books and burned them.
I'm so sorry.
Terrible, man.
I mean, it's like, whatever books are burned, those are probably, they used to do that in the old days, and they're banning books now, even, So banned books are always more important. They are, if you get a book banned, they're probably going to be a bestseller because they're really good books, Pete Hegseth, the guy that's in charge of the Department of Defense now, he wanted to get rid of all the DEI books, diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Yeah.
And so they took Maya Angelou's book out of the library of the Naval Academy, and they took it out. So if that happens, it's a good book. Maya Angelou, I mean, she's like a saint practically. But they don't like any kind of diversity, equity, and inclusion. You ever seen my hat? This is my hat here.
Ah, okay.
Hold on, I can't see it.
It goes.
Oh, there it is. There it is. Oh,
What part? Which do you oppose? Diversity, equity, or inclusion? I mean, it's insane what they're doing now. And the reason they don't like it is because why are they against DEI? Why is there like a movement against DEI? Because of white men. They don't like to be replaced by women or blacks or Latinos or anybody else other than them.
Races.
They're envious of everybody else besides white men. That's why this other guy wrote this book called False White Gospel. There's a whole Christian nationalist movement
yeah.
that's trying to replace all the other religions in the world and just make it a Christian nation. That's another like fascistic type of movement. Besides
Oh,
getting rid
wow.
of DEI, they want to make it a Christian nation and nobody can do anything else.
Did you ever get that book that I recommended? It's fiction, but it's like actually someone's precognizant, Octavia Butler's precognizant premonitions about the future of the United States.
I think I wrote it down. Tell me again. I've got a
Oh, it's Octavia Butler. It's Parable of the Talents. And
Okay.
it takes place in
Octavia
like,
Butler,
yeah, Parable of the Talents. And I
Parable of the Talents.
yeah, evidently the title is based on some kind of Christian scripture or something. I don't know because I don't have familiar.
A parable is like a story in the Bible.
Yeah. Yeah, I think she named it Parable of the Talents, and basically it's the second half of a sequel where basically it's the future of America, but basically she wrote this in 1998, but it was about 2025 going into like the 2030s, and basically, and without a spoiler alert, she projected that AI was going to take over and
Oh
that
my God.
climate change.
Really?
Yeah, and that climate change
Did you
create
see my video of AI?
no,
AI?
Oh,
no. But I
Okay,
think
I'm
you
going to
said
send it to you because I read an article by Tom Hartman called the fascists, the machines are learning and they're learning to be fascists.
right.
And that scared me so much. It was so terrifying. The prospect, I mean, that Hitler had Father Conklin, the Christian guy, and he had the radio. And in the 90s, 2000s, the 2010s, they had social media. That's how the politicians got their word out. But now they have AI. And AI is like George Orwell and um, the propaganda guy for the Hitler on steroids, and it can manipulate millions of messages in no time flat and pump it into your grandma's social media feed, and she won't know what's going on because they look like real people. And it kept me up at night, and so I produced this video like Tom Hartman and his wife, he writes something every day. It's called 5 days a week. It's called the Daily Take. And his wife, who's another just extraordinary prophet, I think I regard these people as prophets because they're so prescient and so knowledgeable about what's going on in the world and what's going to happen. I mean, and his wife, inspired by that, she writes and produces a song every single day and produces it and hires musicians to perform it every day. And so I combine that song with lyrics, make it into a video because nobody reads anymore. And then I put it up on my Facebook page. But that I was up at night and I couldn't even sleep. So I had to get up and produce that video because that is terrifying to me. And unless AI is regulated, it's going to completely destroy democracy. It's already halfway there,
Yeah.
but you got to check it out. That's a really good, it's really good.
Okay.
Art.
I'm gonna hop off, guys. I'm
Yeah,
done
it's
with the
time to get
community.
off anyway. It's 7 o'clock, so
I think Hemang wants to say
thank you,
something.
Hemang.
yeah, that's
Question?
why I was actually raising my hand. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll see you
Not to
guys
cut
later.
you
I'll
off
see you later. Thank you.
after
Bye.
7. Yep. Hare Krishna. Bye, guys.
You can say something if you want to. I can stay on for a little bit if you have a question, Hemang.
Uh, I think I'm all right.
Okay. Well, anyway, I'll see you on Tuesday, hopefully. And
Yeah.
thank you for coming.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Hemang, right?
Huh?
Hemang.
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 Yep.
Okay,
So I
I'll
guess
get
the
it.
thing, I guess like I did have like comment. It's like I know with like all the stuff we read, it's like I'm like while I'm going like through it while reading it or following along,
Hmm.
I'm like, whoa, like I'm like this is this is kind of complex and difficult, kind of difficult to very definitely difficult to understand easily.
Well, the thing is, it's really not up to our mind, to understand these things because Krishna gives us the intelligence to understand it. Just like Alyssa was saying last night, she asked my friend Sankirtan, who is an older gentleman. He's probably in his late 70s now, but he's an author and very knowledgeable. And she said some of her friends, she wants to tell them about Krishna consciousness, but she doesn't know what to say. And she asked Sankirtan, it's like, how do I approach these people and what do I say to them? And Sankirtan told her, that just purify your own heart. And when your heart is purified, then Krishna can speak through you to your heart, and then you'll know what to say because Krishna is in your heart. And so when you have that transparent via medium, you don't have to worry so much about intellectual understanding or memorize all these verses in your head. In fact, Jesus Christ, when his disciples asked him the same question, he said, well, what do we say? Well, he wanted him to preach, and be a fisher of men, because they were all from a fisherman's village. And so his disciples kind of like uh, classified themselves as fishers of men. They needed to expand Christ's message. And so they asked him, what do we say, dear Lord, dear Master? And Christ said in so many words, is just open your mouth. Krishna will speak through you. Like when I was collecting for New Vrindavan, we would sell stuff out in the parking lots and in stadium events and concerts and stuff, and they would tell a joke, and they told me what to say, and I don't consider myself a very outgoing person or very funny at all, but I would just repeat what they would tell me, and then people would start laughing, and they give me money. And so, all you have to do is actually surrender and say exactly what Krishna you think that Krishna wants you to say and surrender to him. And then Krishna will give you the rest of the knowledge. He says, I carry what you lack and provide what you have, or I provide what you have and carry what you lack. It's one of the two. But
So
it,
like the
it's
hearing and reading is the main thing.
Yeah, reading and
Basically.
hearing, you have to hear from pure devotee and you have to associate with devotees, just like we're doing every Thursday and Saturday and Friday now too with Sankirtan. If you can come on Friday, that would be wonderful because Sankirtan is such a great personality. He's actually a thespian. Do you know what a thespian is?
I've heard of the word, but no, I
It's
don't
it's
remember.
actually somebody who's trained in the art of theater. I mean,
Oh,
he used to do the Mahabharat. You know the Mahabharat, right?
yes, yeah. I
He was
remember
one of those
my
stars.
parents had the discs, all the DVD disc for Ramayana and Mahabharata.
Yeah, I mean, he's written a book. He wrote a book on each of them. He wrote a Mahabharat book, and he wrote the Quest of Hanuman from the
Hmm.
Ramayana. So he knows all this stuff, and he has actually done plays. They filmed a play in the palace called the Ramayana, and it's actually on video now. But they had a whole setup, and he was one of the characters in that play, and he's been doing that for years.
Ah,
So he's a very knowledgeable person. If you can get on Friday, you can meet him and talk with him, and that would be great.
okay, yeah, I can try to.
If you can try to do it, and then it'd be 3 days a week. Prabhupada used to have his Bhagavad Gita classes on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So ours is Sunday, Tuesday, and Friday. So kind of same
Yeah.
thing. Anyway, thank you for coming. I've got to come downstairs
Okay.
because my wife is calling me for dinner. But
I figured, yeah.
thank
All
you,
right.
Hemang.
Thank you.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Hare